Good evening. The regular meeting of the Richmond Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sherry, our mission statement, please.
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community.
Roll call, please.
Deb?
Here.
Angela?
Here.
Kyle is late with notice. James?
Here.
Danielle?
Here.
Margaret?
Here.
And I'm present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We need to amend our agenda before we approve it. We are going to add under 7 presentations, an item C, which would be an overnight trip request for our first robotics. And then we will also be adding to number 12, our action items, letter B, the trip request, overnight trip requests for the robotics. Okay, I need a motion.
Yeah, the Spanish trip. I've got something here.
We did Spanish last time.
Oh, you know, I copied and pasted because it was late this afternoon. The title. Is that the title?
Yeah, it says April 11th, 12B approved trip to Spain.
All right, it should be trip to Houston. The backup should all be
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just looked at
I
Spain.
apologize. We
Okay.
met
Yeah.
literally at
Sorry.
3:30 this
Sorry,
afternoon. So that's,
Spain and just.
no.
That's okay.
Thank you for catching that. I'll get it corrected.
I looked and went, okay.
Okay, thanks for checking. I
I'll get it
appreciate
corrected
it.
for the official minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support? Do I have someone support?
Support.
Thank you. Mr. Walmsley, any?
Yes, we do. Here tonight, we have a couple new hires. We have our Director of Student Support Services, Dawn Makar, over here. Dawn comes to us from Chippewa Valley, many years in the special ed realm. Experience, right? That's what we call it, experience. Did you want to say anything, Dawn?
Sure. I just want to say I'm very excited to join Richmond. I'm really looking forward to serving the community and getting to know each and every one of you. Thank you.
Welcome.
We spent a long interview process going to many times bringing candidates back. So Dawn was a trooper, and we tested her a lot. So we are excited to have her. Is Krista? Let's see, Krista here. Krista Razumnicki is the COVID aid for building aid for the elementary school. And Patricia Diaz, which I know she couldn't because her son had a baseball, but she was hired for the purchasing accounting accounts payable coordinator, which replaced Judy, who left a couple weeks ago. She also comes with a wealth of background in the accounts, the business world, accounts payable and receiving, etc. So we are looking forward to her joining the team too. There were no new appointments. There were no corrections on the minutes that were brought to my attention for the March 28th. I did receive one question from Deb regarding check number 53519. It's dated, I believe, March 25th to New Haven Community Schools. This is the payment for our gymnasium rental that we did last year when our buildings were under construction and we didn't have occupancy. So we rented New Haven's facilities for volleyball to utilize them. So we just got the bill after the first year, so we were in the process of processing it. So other than that, there were no other questions. No other comments.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time we will be having a presentation regarding our summer academic and athletic camps.
So as Ms. Era and Mr. Reinhardt come up, in your packet you have Ms. Era's flyer, and I gave you in front of you the pack. Actually, have a hard copy that Ms. Era provided tonight, but also the flyer that Mr. Reinhardt put together. Our goal tonight is to talk to you about, or share with you some of the exciting things we have planned for this summer for our students. These are some of the activities we have not been able to do for the last couple of years, so we are excited to bring them back. So.
I'm here tonight to talk to you about our exciting summer learning camp options this summer. Our camps are going to run from June 20th to July 14th. It will be Monday through Thursday only. There will be no session on July 4th. That's a Monday. There's going to be transportation offered for students, as well as breakfast and lunch will be served. We are going to hold an in-person registration on May 18th out on the football field. Let me go into what exactly we're going to be offering. This year, we're going to be offering academic camps as well as something new, our enrichment camps. First of all, we are going to have our Kinder Connect program. It is geared for current preschool students going into kindergarten. It'll get them ready for all of their early literacy skills, their alphabet sense, their fluency, and their phonics and phonemic awareness. Same with our first grade fundamentals. It is read aloud based. Lots of great literacy skills going on for current kindergartners that are going to be first graders next year. We launched STEM Literacy Camp last year for grades 1 through 3, and it was a huge success. Even virtually, we had 2 packed full classes for that camp. It was really exciting. It was a brand new camp from the ISD. The kids got to actually build their own forts, reading forts, and then they got to read inside their forts that they actually got to construct and build. But they do a ton of different thematic units throughout and embed high-interest science literacy. This year, the MISD is also launching Middle School Readers and Writers Camp. It is going to be, we're splitting ours up for current 3rd through 4th graders, so kids that are going to middle school next year, 4th and 5th, as well as our middle school ELA. It is going to be a Readers and Writers Notebook-based camp, and it's brand new from the ISD. It is project-based, workshop-based, and it's going to culminate in a multi-genre project. We are celebrating Math Mindset again this year for academic camp for our middle school students. It is based on the work of Joe Bowler, and it basically for students that need kind of a refresh in not only mathematics, but the mathematical mindset that they can achieve and the growth mindset. So it's a very fantastic camp. As well as we are going to be offering credit recovery again this summer. It was also a big success last year, but we're hoping for it to continue as well this year. This year, we're going to be offering enrichment camps for students that are in our academic camps. It'll go first come, first serve for them first. We are going to be offering gardening, so any kids that are interested in reading some books about gardening, picture books, nonfiction, and then they're going to get a chance to actually explore gardening for preschool through 1st grade. Also, arts and crafts is going to be offered for preschool through 1st grade. Our enrichment camps are also just going to, so you know, are going to be offered in the afternoon from noon to 2. Classic games is going to be offered for grades 1 through 3, a chance for them to learn all those classic games like Uno, Monopoly, all those classic board games, and cooperative learning, of course. Lego City for grades 2 through 4, where kids are actually going to be able to construct their own city buildings out of Legos and then find the area, perimeter, and volume of all of those buildings. It'll culminate with a family event where they get to come in and see the city that the children build. We are going to be offering ceramics for grades 4 through 9. We're actually going to be doing some pop-up art or pop art inspiration, and the kids are going to be able to research this type of art, and then they're going to be able to do their own, as well as we're going to have a gallery. We are going to have theater offered for 5 through 7, a chance for them to learn how to read scripts and how to play, and actually just put on a very small production for families at the end of the event. Puzzles and Pie is going to be offered for grades 5 through 11. It's going to be a chance for them to learn about math games, puzzles, Sudoku, those type of things, brain teasers, enigmas. So that'll be a lot of fun. We are also going to be doing a dissection lab for grades 6 through 12 or 6 through 11. We're calling the class Grossology. Students are going to get a chance to dissect cow eyeballs, as well as lamb brain, and other cool things that you know kids are going to love. This year is the very first year that the MISD is launching a girls STEM camp, and they actually reached out to us to see if we would want to be one of the districts to launch this program. And of course, we jumped on board because that's what we're about, is giving students opportunities. This camp is running separately the week after our regular camps end, so it'll be July 18th through the 21st from 9 to 2. It'll be hosted in the robotics room. The theme is actually going to be tinkering toys. It's going to be a really cool thing where they get to actually embrace toys and learn how they operate and work. They're going to then be able to design and construct their own toys. And then we are going to do a donation for students or young children in our community to give back the toys that the children get to invent. So, and that is our summer
Can you
offering.
just tell the board how we came up with these enrichment offerings? What was the process you undertook?
Okay, so at first I did a survey, a summer school survey, just to gauge when we would like to host our summer school. I've always loved the idea of doing enrichment camps. I asked the staff if they would like to come up with proposals and ideas of what enrichment camps they think that kids would love and enjoy. I got in several proposals from staff, teachers, about the different enrichment camps of what they would like to see for the kids to be able to learn and explore, as people.
So the goal, we have staff that are willing to do this, and like I said, the posting's up, and it kind of brings back some excitement of the stuff that we all went into teaching for, that has kind of somewhat left the classroom with the restrictions that the state's put on us in terms of what we teach. So we are very excited about this, and at the same time, I charged Renee with this. I charged Mr. Reinhardt with coordinating camps, and our goal is to have an athletic camp for every sports team, whether it's a fundraiser for the team to support that team or just to build the program, particularly the ones that have our low enrollment. So I know I printed the flyer. Like I said, I did not have a chance to upload it to the website. So Mr. Reinhardt, you want to? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
How many kids are in each? I mean, what's the number of students that can be part of these?
This girls STEM camp is going to be about only 15 girls. They do ask that we have some mentor volunteers from the high school to also appear with the young girls. For the other camps, it'll be a pretty low enrollment number. 16 to 20 is the top. It's about the range.
So then the girls STEM, our kids will go to the ISD for that.
We're going to it'll be housed here.
We're housing it through the ISD.
Yes, they're the ones who invented the curriculum and everything for the program.
Okay.
They were looking at districts that wanted to launch and be a part of the program, and they thought of Richmond because of all the great things that we've done with our Little Inventors program and our K-12 STEAM program. So it was a natural fit for them to give us a call and say, do you want to do this?
And so then the academic enrichment, those are all going to be done here?
Mm-hmm.
And so when the transportation needs, our buses will go out, if they sign up to their house and bring them here and bring them home.
Yes.
Okay. And we've got someone to do the theater?
We have all the postings up right now. We did get a proposal for theater to be able to do that. So that was one of our proposals.
I'm excited about that since that's something we're trying to, I don't want to lose. So I was just.
The postings went out Friday afternoon, and so I'm slowly starting to get the trickle in interest because they went on break. But
this is absolutely outstanding. It really is. This is very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
One question I had. These are, like, when you say the STEM literacy for grades 1 through 3, is that kids going into 1 to 3, or is it kids who are in 1 through 3?
I really dislike the way
Either way.
the registration flyer's been done previously. So I geared it for current kids. So the current first grade, current third grade, knowing that on the back end of the camp, it's for
They're
kids
second
going
to
into
fourth.
second through
Okay.
fourth. So all you have to do is just look at the flyer. Is my child right now in preschool? Are they in first grade? And just to make it less complicated.
Right. Perfect.
Thank you. Chris?
Do you have pre-application?
I do not, because I did not have it uploaded at the time. But they have it.
Good evening. On the flyer that was created for the board, there's a QR code in the lower right-hand corner. If you scan the code, it will take you to a website that's been created by my assistant and district coach, Brandon Day. This was created for district summer camps offered by athletic teams and coaches. Brandon has listed district-sponsored sports, and you can click on any of them to get information regarding each of their planned summer camps at this time. Brandon and I are still working with coaches to complete camp information. We didn't want to create a formal list just yet, because as there still are going to be changes made. We still have several details to iron out for this summer. As of today, we have camps scheduled, or we are in the process of scheduling, for basketball, volleyball, wrestling, baseball, and football. And it's our hope that more coaches are able to finalize a camp for their sport as well. Many of these camps are geared towards elementary and middle school age students, and they work skills and technique and strategy for younger students to prepare them as they transition to middle school and high school athletics.
So as I said, the goal here was, our goal is to get 100% of all our sports program having a camp. Particularly my vision is those that are smaller programs to begin building the interest so that we're not always at that borderline, are we going to run it or not type of thing, and to get that, grow that interest. If you look at the flyer that's in your program as well as Ms. Reiner, we're designing the camps so that academic run from 8 to 11:30, and then the enrichment runs from 12 to 2, and then the sports camps are 8:30 to 11:30, because we will be running the breakfast and lunch program from 7:30 until 8, so the kids will be able to eat breakfast here. And then between that break, if they're in the academic camp going to the enrichment, they will be able to eat lunch here. The lunch program is going back to what it was, it's been 2 years, Tammy? 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, where you have to eat on site. No more can you go drive by and do the bag pickup. We're going back to, so we're trying to design the camps to target the kids that are in it, as well as anybody in the community, have the opportunity to get breakfast and lunch free through the summer meet up and eat up program. So stay tuned. We have a lot more coming. So.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming numbers really don't matter. You're looking for as many kids as you can get in this.
No, that's why it's difficult for some of the coaches, because they're getting some of their former collegiate athletes, volunteers, so they can take as many students as they possibly can.
Yep. So then is the idea that it's going to run whatever time frame? Like, will there be volleyball and baseball at the same time?
That's what we're trying. That's part of the trickiness that we're trying to iron out as well. To try to make sure that they're either on different dates, or trying to keep them between 8:30 and 11:30. It's going to be hard for them to piggyback off each other, because the coaches like to go 2 or 3 hours at a time. So that's what we're trying to iron out right now.
Okay. Hey, I'm just thinking, if I had an interest in a couple different things as a kid, just being able to have that opportunity.
And that's the goal, is that if I normally play baseball and Little League or whatever, maybe I have an interest in tennis and I've never had an opportunity. If I can provide a week of a camp for a student with tennis, maybe that might spark an interest in them to the tennis, or to go out for something that they've been hesitant to go out for. So that is our goal, so that they don't all happen at the same time. It gives them a menu of options to pick from.
And so is the plan then, the date, like you're right after school gets out, the month of July, what's the?
Yeah, that's where we're trying to land in the food service lunch program. We're trying to land
in there.
In there, yeah.
Okay.
It's the 25th. I look at the thing here. June 20th starts the academic.
Right.
But I think it's the following week, the 27th, and pretty much the month of July is what we're trying to accomplish and get that work done.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt. Okay, our next item on our presentations is the overnight trip for the Richmond varsity softball. Mr. Stewart, please step up to the podium.
Mr. Stewart, they have all the stuff that you gave me, so that whole
Okay.
packet.
Want to go through this, and answer questions.
This is your
Okay.
time.
It's an overnight trip, really 2 nights, but it's a chance for the kids to just be with the kids, build a camaraderie with the team, and also a chance for the parents to come along and have them build a camaraderie with the parents also, so we can depend on the parents. There's unique parental support for your program. And kids, it's like they'll have such a fun time that they'll never forget about this the rest of their lives. They'll remember they went away for a couple of nights and we're playing. The first time we were playing with West Branch, Oklahoma Heights, and then we played at Foster's Cabin. The next day we played Gaylord. And Gaylord's currently ranked second in Division II, so it's quality competition. And then the next night we spend the night, and Sunday we come home. And Foster's at Richmond Cabin, and every kid has their own bed. They're on a lake somewhere. I get on the bus, and when I get there, I get off the bus. That's about all I know.
It's Higgins Lake.
Okay.
That's where you go.
Unfortunately, I don't have any idea. When I get there, it's dark at night. I go down this winding road, and we're there, so I get off. That's all I know. No, it's a fun thing, and we're just seeking permission. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Stewart? Coach Stewart?
Coach.
This is different. We haven't done Gaylord before, have we?
No, we did, before we did Petoskey.
Petoskey, okay.
And Petoskey, it's nice, but, half the time it's nice and big by the time we get up there. So we picked up somewhere else because we're kind of wimpy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit warmer.
Absolutely. Okay.
You're in Michigan.
Yes, I know. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I don't be respectful when I have practice going on, and we have a really big game tomorrow. It's a very, very tough team, so.
Okay.
Good luck.
Good luck. Thank you. Okay, our next presentation is our overnight trip for the First Robotics Team 4130. And we have Mrs. Thaley up doing that.
So as Mrs. Daly walks up, I just want to give the board, this was some conversations through emails over the break. We met this afternoon at 3:30 to go over logistics and so forth. The normal form that Mr. Stewart filled out, we do not have, so we're going to talk about it. We will have that officially if the board approves it for the official minutes and so forth, and have the backup I can send to the board also at a later date. But this is a big thing because we have not had an opportunity to, our students are doing well, and this gives them a chance to go to World. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelley DeLeo. I'm a co-coach with the high school robotics team. So just to give you some information, after our performance at the Macomb event, we qualified for the Michigan State Championship this past weekend. And as you know, we have a very solid chance at qualifying for the World Championship in Houston, Texas the following week. So due to COVID, this has been pushed down to one World Championship. Over the past few years before COVID, it was held in Detroit, but since COVID, they took that away. And now we would hate to have our kids miss out on the most competitive event that will happen in our sport for years to come. The district has supported our K through 12 program, and this is really showing you the end result of how the K through 12 program is successful. So just to let you know, robotics team, we never come in front of the board and ask you guys for funds. So unfortunately, this time we are, because with COVID and everything happening, our funds are, and not being able to fundraise, we are asking for assistance this time. So in the instant that we qualify, which we will know this Saturday of the Michigan State Championship, which is this Saturday, we wanted to ask the board for funds for transportation and registration to get down to Houston, as well as hotels and food, as we are receiving for states. We have reached out and got quotes from various companies for a van. John and I and Becky met with Brian earlier, like Brian said, and he suggested that we look into flying. We talked through some various options, and if we were to fly, the team would more than likely would not be all to be able to fly together as we're thinking of this. We would also need to get some sort of transportation if we do fly while we're in Houston to travel from the venue to our lodging and back and forth. This time we are asking the board for $25,850, as a final number for registration, travel, hotels, and food. Brian has specific details and prices on what we're looking at, and I will now go to him to discuss. Thank you for your time, and I'm ready for any questions.
Let me explain the cost that Mrs. DeLeo talked about. In your packet, you should have a sheet that I provided you. When the conversation first started, they did an outstanding job outlining and projected cost. One of the costs was to rent a, excuse me, a 15-passenger van. In looking at that cost and taking 2 days to get down there, hotel room, so forth, that's what that top part in the brown is. The cost that we estimated just to rent and get down there. While we were costing this out, I had Tammy talk to the insurance. There is a very large concern regarding if something should happen in that travel. Number one is if the van is rented, it has to be rented in the district's name. There is what's called a combined single limit. So for instance, again, I hate to think worst case scenario, but it's something we at least have to consider. God forbid something happens, our liability coverage for that single incident is $1 million for that combined. So if you think about it, that's less than, again, if something drastic and horrible were to happen, that's less than $100,000 per pupil. If an award was given more than that, the district would be on the hook for that difference. The insurance company strongly recommends, when we talk to them today, that we look at flying. So after we had that conversation, that's when I started looking at, okay, the initial email that Mrs. DeLeo gave me was about a $450 round trip ticket-ish. When you look at approximately gas, filling up 4 times, about $100, down there 4 times, $100, coming back, probably more. The rental of the car, which is about $1,600 that they found. The food for the participant, like we do for states, when we go, there's that form they fill out that we do have a food limit that we provide for. It's basically 2 days for the 13 students and the 2 adults. And then a hotel, when we looked at the participants, if they all were to go, we would need 5 hotel rooms, and we budget about $150. That should be $150, I apologize. We were literally doing this in the 11th hour. So, but you're talking about $6,000 between renting a passenger van and the risk you have, versus at the time when we talked originally, or the email, $6,700 for airlines. So there's not much difference between the two, but it's a huge liability that we don't have. All right, yet alone, if we are doing a 15-passenger, we've got to make sure the driver has a CDL license and all that goes with it. So when you look at the other options that were talked about, there is a $5,000 fee. They're working on trying to raise money, but I said let's put it all in a package. We would need 6 hotel rooms for 6 days, and that's the budget we allocate. So there's we would need food for 7 days for 15 people. It's about $37.50 is the total, but just for the sake of this, I rounded up to 40. And then transportation, we did a quick search while we were in my office, and they ranged from all over from, when this DeLeo first looked at this, to well over $1,000, so we put a placeholder. So this total cost to go to Worlds is $25,800 just to cover the expenses. They have already have coordinated getting, the robot is sent down there from first after the state competition, so they don't have to worry about that. They have, correct me if I'm wrong, they have coordinated having the tools and equipment sent down with another team, so that cost is already incurred on there.
We found out now that FedEx is doing it all for no charge.
FedEx will be
even better.
at the state championship once everybody is done competing. They are loading everybody that qualifies for Worlds. They're loading it, we pack it, they'll ship it for free there and back.
So, and then you'll see the other option is if the board wanted to do what we typically do for states or nationals. We've had a couple. We had we haven't had this large of a group go somewhere nationally, but we've had, several years ago, we had some art students that were recognized at Carnegie Hall for a national award. We've had DECA students travel to California and Florida for competition. We just haven't had this large of a group, so I know, at least I was, the price tag is a little high. The challenge as we were talking is, Mrs. Daly is right, robotics is a self-sufficient program. They have raised everything for themselves and run everything. They've gone out and got sponsorship. Some of that has been, a lot of that has been limited over the last 2 years in what they can fundraise and the ability to fundraise or do. So, you know, if the board were to approve this or any dollar value different from this, my first instinct would be to whatever we have left in our state funding account. We have one for academic and one for athletics, though I do have to watch the athletic because the spring sports are not finished yet, and hopefully we'll be sending.
Because they haven't even started.
Correct. And hopefully we'll be sending teams down to the states. But the academic, now there's not a lot of money, so I would drain, if you will, or use those funds first. And then the other would be we'd have to amend that budget to put money into it depending on what the board decided. If nothing changes in the budget right now, as a board, you're putting money into fund balance as of the budget that you approved last year. So just on the surface level, that would be the first area that I would allocate. We put less into fund balance than we did for this expense that has come up.
So just to let you know, on your paper where it says fee $5,000, that $5,000 is for us to even participate in the World Championship. That's the registration fee for us to even go.
And John had mentioned the other co-sponsor that they say, and I'm correct me if I'm wrong, there are 300 teams that are invited across the world.
There is, actually, Michigan alone has 476 robotics teams. Only 160 of that out of there will qualify to go to Worlds. So Michigan, and then I think Michigan's one of the largest, and then I think Ontario is the next one.
Isn't California pretty big too?
California is big, but not like where we are at. So
Michigan is one of the largest, not the largest, the
Yes.
biggest
yeah.
state that has robotics teams. So.
But like Shelley was saying, they come from all over the world. And
Yes.
we went last time, which was when it was in Detroit. I mean, we had
Israel,
yes,
we had Australia,
China,
Japan, China, we had
and
everybody there.
it was just a learning experience for our kids because if you've not ever been to a robotics, they teamed them up. So they had to learn to communicate with kids who couldn't speak English. So it was not only were they competing, but they were also learning how to, you know, work with people from all over the world.
And it's very interesting to see how
Yes.
over the world that they create their robot compared to what we do.
I guess at this time, questions, I mean, again, I realize, I personally realize this is a large dollar value. Like I said, even if we just did like we normally do for any other group, when they go to states or to a national, the hotel, food, and transportation, it's a $20,000 price tag when you look at the time to get down there. Like I said, we budgeted $750. Mrs. Borwick suggested instead of a hotel, could we look at like maybe like an Airbnb house that they all stay in, would reduce it. My initial glance, and it was a quick glance on board policy, I didn't see anything that prohibited, but I'd have to look further to make sure that's an allowable expense as long as we have the chaperones and so forth.
And one of the reasons we discussed that was a lot of hotels right now are currently booked because teams aren't sure if they're going to qualify or not this weekend. So we have to wait to see if other teams drop out, so possibly we can pick up those bookings. So that's another issue that we're running into.
Right, and then at Saturday night, like I said, we will know if we do qualify to go to Worlds. And then if we do, then we really have to, you know, look into booking the flights, if there's going to be any flights available at that time if we decide to fly. Now, I know Ryan really wants us to fly, and that the liability, and that is, we understand the insurance policy. But my concern and John's concern is we fly, it's not a guarantee that we can all be on the same flight, and that we might have to have different, I only have like 4 parents going with these kids, and to fly, you're gonna have to have one parent, make sure one adult parent is with these students, and then I don't know if we can get all in Detroit, or if it's gonna be Flint. I just feel that, and then once we get down there, then we would have to figure out how to get from our hotel to the venue, so if we don't drive. So that's another concern that we have, that we'll have everybody separated instead of all together. So these are just concerns, but again, we appreciate everything that you guys decide for us, and what you guys would think best.
I would just say logistically, I'm an attorney, and Mr. Wamsley's concerns are absolutely right. And just thinking it through, going from Michigan to Texas, think of the number of jurisdictions that in states you travel through. Choice of law, if it's an accident, and you're on your way to Texas, in between, which law applies, it just, and you're at $1 million per incident, which divides with all the students who are going to go. I just think and I also think it's inherently dangerous to travel. Just your risk of being in an accident. So just putting the money aside, I think for safety of the kids, I get it, it's a pain, but I think it's just so much safer. As much as you're apart, it's just so much safer. And nothing good happens when you're traveling, and especially if you're traveling late. I don't know what the hours would be you're trying to get down there.
If we were to fly, we were looking possibly, it would be Tuesday morning.
I was just saying, like driving.
Driving?
Well, you'd have to leave Monday.
We would
During
leave
the day.
Monday.
It's a long drive.
Monday, and then we would split it up, because the other coach, he does have his CDL license to do that. So we would leave Monday, stay overnight, and then get up Tuesday morning to finish the trip to Houston that way.
Sure.
I agree with you. I just think flying is, if we're going to do it, I think flying is the smartest way. And I appreciate the worrying about whether being on the same flight like that, and 4 parents. So there's only be 4 chaperones with how many
There's
kids?
2 coaches. We have, it would be 13 kids.
Are all 13 going?
All 13 are going.
I did talk to Ms. Delio and John regarding, what would be the outcome if, like, a students had to put a portion, let's assume we do up to a certain amount. There was some concern that because they are a very self-sufficient program and there's a lot they already give, it may be challenging for, correct me if I'm wrong,
It
for a
would be
certain,
very challenging for our parents to come up with some type of money.
this late in the game from
Yes.
with not having to do the fundraiser. So that was,
I don't know that I'm interested
Okay.
in that. If I'm going to do this, I don't know that I'm interested in such a short amount of time. The parents need to come up with this. This is a huge deal, and so that, to me anyways.
well, I just wanted you guys
I
to
know
know.
for
what-
other programs, correct. Once they get to this level, this is something we do for other programs?
From the academic side, we have done it. For
Yes,
DECA,
we have
we've done it. We've done it for the art
Yeah,
program.
like Kelly said, we've done it, but not
Not
to
to
this
this
high of a done.
Well, how many went to St. Louis? We did do it with the robotics team to St. Louis, and I know they drove
They
there.
drove there.
They drove. I don't know how many our numbers were.
Another option that we have, of course, we know a lot of teams, and there's another team that is looking, they're renting like a tour bus for 64-seater, and they're looking for another team, possibly another 2 teams, to all be on one,
Reduce the cost.
and it would reduce the cost. So that's something else that I wanted to share with you guys.
But
And
see, to me, that's all, you're asking us to approve it tonight, but now we're saying that we might be able to have a bus and all of that. So I'm, just let me finish. I'm leery of any kind of dollar amount. I'm all for getting them there, all for it. But to now, now there's a bus and that, my opinion is, we get them on a plane, figure everything out from there, and you can find transportation to and from your event. That would be something we would have to work out as a district. But if now we're going to talk about, now we may share a bus or whatever, then these dollar figures don't really do anything.
So you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I would ask the board, if that's what the board decides, is you set maybe an up to dollar amount with some discretion for me. So as we're finalizing, if we can get it cheaper and we can partner with other teams, that would be our priority. Obviously, but Saturday's here and you're leaving Tuesday on a plane, basically.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of turnout. So I would be looking for you, if you guys are interested in getting them there, give us an up to dollar value. And if you want it up to with some discretion, 10% discretion for the superintendent if something came a little over. So that I can sit down with the team and the administrators and Tammy and, okay, let's figure all this out. Because you're right, there are logistics. If they can get a hotel that is right by the convention, we don't have that transportation logistics.
But I'll bet trying to get one is going to be tough.
It is.
It is,
Next week.
okay, so we have states this
The
week.
20th. It starts the 20th.
World
Wednesday.
starts from the 19th, the 20th through the 23rd, but I did put on the form the 19th for us to travel.
And usually when we do, just as for the board to know, the kind of the barometer, this is a little unique, is if it falls after noon, or before noon it starts, we give them a day ahead of time to travel. If it ends after 6 o'clock, we give them a day on the back end to travel, because our goal is we don't want people traveling, mostly driving with state stuff in the night.
Our event starts the 20th, which is that Wednesday at 7 a.m.
And how many kids are going?
13.
And how many of them are affected by the state testing?
None of them, because they're done, aren't we?
It's all done on
The
Wednesday.
testing is this
So
week.
it's done Wednesday before they
Richmond's
go.
doing it all in
This
one
week,
week?
we have this week.
Okay.
Now, if they're absent, we'd have the makeup, but I believe the makeup is in.
No, what
They will be here.
we did because we knew about the testing is, states is this week, once the children are done with their tests on Wednesday, we are looking to leave about 1:30 to head up to Saginaw. And then I have one 11th grader that will still be here, and he will come in on Thursday to take his test, and then he'll have a chaperone to take him up to the States on Thursday.
Again, I'm in favor of some kind of flying.
I just have a quick question. So if we take the bus, if that were to work out in a scenario, what's the liability on that piece?
The busing company, there's some things they have to provide us to make sure they've got the proper insurance and liability.
Not much different.
It's
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just kind of asking.
In a very simplistic term, it's similar to an air, I guess with an airline, you're taking a risk, they have an insurance, if something were to happen, they're to cover, but.
It would be less complicated.
Yes. But part of it, and I'm drawing a blank with the last group, because we had some take the charter buses before too, a couple of years.
We went to New York the one year, the choir
But
did.
we'd have to get it from the charter company, all the documentation that shows they have the insurance and liability, all that meets our standard. And the reason why it's concerning, there was a district in Macomb, or in Michigan, that had an accident, was sued, didn't have enough insurance, and the school district had to issue bonds to pay for the settlement. Did I nutshell Tammy it?
Yes.
And that's what, I want to make sure we are protected as a district. Our kids are first, that's our first priority, but also as a district, from if something were to happen.
Well, that's not enough. I might play an insurance agent in my day job, so I would not recommend us driving.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
I think, can we get a flight out? If we find out Saturday, that means Saturday night we need to be online.
That was our conversation. We got to have someone who's ready to go to start looking and divide and conquer, get hotels, get flights, and it's a very short turnaround.
Yeah, and Saturday when we get done, it's, with our competition, you're probably looking at 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
Online's 24/7.
Brian, how much is in the academic account for states?
The starting budget was 10,000. Tammy, can you find that? It was starting at 10,000. We've had the solo ensemble, so we had some choir go through. I don't know if the expenses have cleared yet. Academic, I don't think we've had any group academic go. But I know choir would have been probably the one when they go to their solo ensembles at the state. Maybe it's band, state festival. I always see that. I can get to them too.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Well, thank you. I will go by whatever your decision is, but we just appreciate you guys taking this into consideration and helping us out. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Well, we're not done.
Well,
Because-
we can have a discussion at this point, can we not?
We'll wait till
What?
action item maybe?
What?
Should we wait till action item for discussion?
Was there any other question?
Yeah, Mr. Wamsley,
Let's hear
what's
more
the coverage for the school district for non-automotive liability and taxes? Where's that?
Yeah, because they still will need a vehicle down there if they fly.
Or even just being there, if there's some, allegation.
Automotive liability is 5 million. Automotive.
I'm saying non-auto related.
I believe it's 5 million.
You remember, Tammy?
I believe it's 5 million.
Is that just an umbrella policy through the school? Okay.
It's through SEG, which covers most of the school districts. We meet with SEG just pretty much annually. And I mean, it's sad to even think this way, but we say, okay, if something were to happen, what's the going rate for a settlement? And we adjust our insurance rates to make sure we're covering that so that we don't have that liability again.
I mean, this is no different than like a field trip, like when they went, like middle school went to Washington DC, they rented buses.
It would be a similar. So when they rented to go to Washington D.C., it was before I got here, but there would have been some insurance that they would have had to provide to show that yes, they have the coverage. So if something were to happen, bottom line, if someone's going to sue someone, we're probably going to be named in a lawsuit anyways. But they're going to start with who's closest to the insurance policy, I guess. If that's the right way to say it.
I was just curious.
Yeah. It's pretty much 5 million when you look at employers' liability, garage liability, automotive. It's kind of a standard.
Yeah, the budget for the state events is $6,500 for athletics and $7,000 for academic.
That's the balance?
That's what we budgeted.
That's what we budgeted.
Okay, but do we know what the balance is in there right now?
Yes, no, I do, but some things aren't reported because we're still getting things in balance from when we've set wrestling and bowling.
It's usually at least a 30-day delay before we pay the expense that gets into the account.
But the academic.
that's athletic.
Yeah, what's the academic?
$7,500 for academic, I'm sorry, $7,000 for academic, $6,500 for athletics. That's what we budget.
But has anything been used for academics?
No.
Within the last month.
The only one that I said would be covered, it might even been covered out of her internal, the booster, would have been banned when they went to state solo ensembles.
She only gets maybe pins, she might have to pay something like that,
But that's where the dollars are, so you're talking, we probably have
That
about,
was at Anchor Bay, right?
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
didn't go to Anchor Bay this
there
year?
was a competition in Anchor Bay, but they,
That was the state event, wasn't it?
The middle school had a state one in Dakota. Is that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's
They went to
Dakota.
high school to Anchor Bay. Yes.
Yeah. So their cost would have been very minimal from a food, because they don't lodge there, and transportation is either we provide a bus or the parents drive them, depending on. So it would be very minimal expenses if they turn. Sometimes the boosters have picked up the tab and they have turn receipts, and the boosters did it.
Any other thoughts, comments?
I think the tricky thing is going to be if you you don't know until Saturday night at 7 o'clock, and you're going to try to book a ticket for 15 people, and the estimate is $450. I mean, sometimes you go on and your ticket goes to $2,000 per ticket.
Well, that was, the original was $450, but in the bottom part, you see, because when we were Google or searching this afternoon, they were about $475, and you're probably going to have, supply and demand as all these teams are not qualified. They're going to be bidding for it, so looking at options, can you fly out of Flint? Can you get a connector flight? And not that we want to do that, but those are all options we got to look at. That's the challenge. Like I said, if we can get a dollar value, so we can start budgeting. Okay, we have this much, and we may go a little more on transport or the plane, but we've figured out a way to save on hotel or something, and just kind of shuffle the.
I guess the question is, as a board, is this something we want to fund? Any thoughts?
I'm all for it. I'm just thinking the transportation is a wild card, because I think you could be literally looking at a $2,000 flight if you're doing it with a week notice, right? Not even a week notice. I mean, so it's a safer thing to possibly also have a plan B and have that bus lined up. And I like the bus idea. If it's a big passenger bus, that you have professional athletes type, bus it. That type of safety for the kids, I'd feel better. Plus with, commercial insurance that would accompany that, I would feel better. Just thinking out loud here.
I appreciate that.
And I think that was your intent, is if we can join another team to help reduce their costs as well as our costs, probably the bus would be more of a doable option, because you are right, the flights from literally just a couple of days of an email exchange have fluctuated.
And it went up like $300 or something.
Well, even if we know like at 5 o'clock on Saturday, which we should, you're still talking somebody's got to sit down at a computer, and we're still all going to be there at the competition, clean it up. They got award ceremony and stuff like that. We would need to get somebody, Becky, making some phone calls and getting checking on some flights and what it would cost. So
I just Googled it really quick and it said like $515, $590 already today.
So like I said, if the board is supportive of this and you can give us at least a dollar value, our goal is to keep it as low as possible, but it gives us something else to start working and playing with in terms of thinking positive when we get the notice on Saturday that we're going to qualify for the board.
I'd just book it and tell the team, you better qualify.
There you go. We're by doing the stats, I was told today.
Yeah, by doing the stats, we are 85% chance going
to Worlds. We're like 7th in the state.
No, we're
7th.
We're at the state competition this weekend.
That's right.
With our performance on our robot, out of 160 teams, our robot ranked 7th.
It's a good chance.
So why wouldn't we start looking for flights and
because you can't book them now. What if they don't go?
Right.
And then you got tickets for all these individuals.
paying a cancellation?
There's no cancellation on plane tickets. You get a.
You can get insurance to cancel.
Well, that adds more money to it.
But I guess if the board's willing to, that could be our process.
Might be what you would have to eat. That makes the most sense to me. Right, instead of sitting and looking at how much it's going up every single day, get on it.
Okay, well, the team that wants to
if-
rent the bus and get with them. And
They should have more information tonight, between tonight and tomorrow, regarding information on that,
The bus.
So at this point, as a board, we're just looking, Mr. Walmsley, it sounds like he's just looking at a figure. What figure are we willing,
have the budget?
and that they work within it to get our kids down there?
so why is the fee zeroed out on the request option again?
The fee, because originally when we had the conversation this afternoon, the robotics group had kind of some donations and they were covering the fee.
That's the
But it really zeroed out everything they had to start next year's program. So we put it on there as a worst case, if we wanted to cover the fee and send it, it wouldn't drain their internal dollars as much. That's why it's on there, the two options. We did not pay the fee for the art, or now it came out of their internal accounts or their own account, art budget, or if there was a fee for submitting artwork to Carnegie when that was done, or DECA when they went down to California or Florida. We just paid basically the three things: hotel, food, and transportation. This is a little different.
I'm in favor of it. I think it'd be great. I mean, sorting the details out later, but whatever the amount was, was it 25?
25, it's almost 26.
Sure.
It's 25.
I'd support that.
I do too.
Me too.
So that would be on the motion that we have in your backup packet. I gave you kind of a sample. We would just need to insert a dollar value when they make the motion, so that we can, then we'll be able to go from there.
So what's the motion going to be?
To approve the over,
What I'm asking my question. I know what it reads on the paper. I'm saying if we're saying $25,000, $26,000, does the motion, this motion says as presented, okay, but we have different presentations. So are we approving 26,000, not to exceed 26,000 with the idea airline first, bus second, something? I mean, because I'm going to tell you, that's the only way I'm going to support it. Because I think it should be airline. And we talked about it all around the table the two different ways. So if we all agree that that's the dollar figure, then it has to be more than just this as presented, because we have different presentations.
I like the fact of just saying, as a board member, I'm willing to give the 26,000, and I'm going to allow our superintendent, our administration, and our mentors to decide what's best to get them down there. If they can get a better deal on the bus issue, or a housing instead of hotel, I'd like to give them that leeway.
I would like to see us fly. It's just a different, transportation's different than the housing. When it comes to insurance and driving, and I just...
Well, I don't want them to drive now that I've heard that piece, but if they could get on a bus.
Yeah, I would still rather see us fly.
Okay.
And I'm certainly not saying that our superintendent, administrator, and everybody doesn't have the ability to do it. But ultimately, our responsibility is the safety and welfare of our students. So if I'm going to support a motion, I would like to see details in it that says what we're supporting. That's all I'm saying. Not that people can't do their job.
Isn't it too late to do that, though? I mean, I don't know, and I'm asking this because I'm new to the board. How does that happen in real time right now when it's not on there?
This is nothing.
We can change
This means nothing. This is an example. This is a script.
We can make whatever we want to read.
We can make this motion say whatever we want as a board. This is just a script because I guess we think we need to have a script, but this is all this is.
I'm just wondering how we button down all those details.
I don't think we can. That's why I want to be able to give a little bit of a window there.
But I'm not asking you to button it. I'm saying this is just me to support it. So when I don't support it, everyone understands why I'm not. If the amount is $26,000, which I don't have any issue with, send them. But for everything in my head, I want them to fly. Now we've come up with, now maybe we can get on a bus. I agree with Kyle, that still makes me leery. So if in this presentation we've talked about flying or driving, when we approve things, the presentation basically says to us, here's how we're doing it, and this is how much money we're spending on it. That's not what we're doing in this motion. That's what I'm asking.
Got it. I understand where you're coming now, because we don't have any numbers or anything on the bus.
But that's okay, because we're saying up to $26,000, because we've got options, and I think we're all in agreement that $26,000 works. But we're making a motion to spend $26,000, but we're not based on the presentation is what someone will make the motion. We've got a different presentation.
Well, we can change that wording. We don't need to put the word presentation in there when we do it.
Which is what I'm trying to say, and that's when you said you want to let people do their job, and I'm not trying to not let people do their job. I want to be able to have a motion that's on the table that is specific and clear on what the board is agreeing to,
But,
based on the presentation.
Okay.
That's what our motion
but
is.
what if they can get, let's say, Margaret, for example, this presentation only talks hotels. What if they could get a B&B that's much cheaper and lower, and it would help them out, they'd be together? Then that's not on this presentation. Does that make sense, what I'm asking
But
back to you?
But part of the presentation talked about hotel, B&B, to where they stay. How they stay, to me, is not as important as how they get there. We'll be able to get them someplace to stay, and whatever works best for what they do. To me, the biggest point of what we're supporting and sending them is how we're getting there, in my opinion.
Anybody have any other thoughts on how we would want to word that when we get there, or we can talk about it when we get there, how we're going to word that? Margaret, want to come up with something?
Well, I already told you what I want to do.
Well, what do you want to do?
said no, because I'm trying to tell people how to do their
What you're saying,
jobs.
Margaret. I mean, we've sent students on buses before, so I feel that
All the way to New York and back.
just as safe of flying, as far as insurance-wise. I don't know, Kyle, I may be wrong, I'm not an expert. But we've done it before, or the board, somebody on the board has done it before. So I feel if, whatever works best for them, if they can get on a bus, and it's such the kind that we agree on, that, you know, is insured and all that, I'm okay with that, or flying is, those two options is what I'm okay with, whatever they can figure out. I mean, they're lacking on time right
I don't
right
disagree
now,
with you
so-
that. I'm just trying to make the point.
I know, you want flying.
No, yeah, no. I'm saying,
I feel
we
that
all
we're
know
saying
that we
that.
followed this script and we would say per the presentation.
And I disagree. I mean, I think that the lodging is the same because we want them in a safe hotel or we don't want them in a shady area, so it does matter.
No, I'm saying this, we know the script says, so that's what the motion would be. I don't think the motion reflects what we're talking about, unless we're just saying, however they come up with it, do it.
Well, we could put that, it's either the airfare.
Yeah, like if we put a motion to accept the recommendation and approve the robotics team overnight trip to Houston, Texas, and instead of saying as presented,
There's 26 grand, do whatever it takes.
yeah,
That's your allowance.
that's the allowance.
I mean, that's not what I want to say, but that's what you're essentially
Yeah.
saying.
Well, and I think Brian has heard this. The board here feels pretty strongly about flying. I think, to me, if that's how we're going to go, that's what we can do, but what if we cannot get a flight? Or, and I understand maybe we could start looking at flights now and look at the insurance, and so we don't have that piece. Like I
Well,
say,
can you just say the 26,000 with priority given
to airfare?
airfare
There you go.
and secondary to
It's only what I want. I
charter
mean,
bus?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
That's what everyone's thinking. I'm just telling you, that's where I'm coming from.
We all feel driving is probably
So can I ask Claire?
Do we?
I think.
I know,
Do we?
I think so.
Well,
Okay.
they're driving by
Okay.
automobile, which is an absolute no, but then there's driving by a charter. bus,
Which I'm
that
okay
could be
with that.
Okay is option B, but I like your idea, Margaret, that if you buy insurance for the plane tickets, and the worst that happens is our robots don't win at states. I assume this is a robot kill competition.
No.
No,
It's-
no.
No, it's not the outlet.
I'm not supporting it. Yeah. No, that's,
Just go to one, and it's
Yeah.
fabulous,
All
but,
right.
yeah, it's not.
it's gonna be a lot better, but.
So what do you do with that week? Just kidding. You could phrase the motion as support for up to 26,000 for the fee, hotel or Airbnb, food, transportation, airline, or bus, with airline being a preference if that's the board. What that would tell me is cars are out of the question. 15 passenger buses are out of the question. It is either a third-party company for transportation for a bus or an airfare. The hotel would not necessarily be, if we find something where they all can stay in one area, from a management side, that would be much better for the sponsors, just managing kids. But
Okay, can we live, does everybody agree with what Brian just proposed?
I think that's perfect.
Sherry does?
Yes.
Danielle? Kyle?
Good with that.
Angela? Okay, when we get to that point, that is what we're going to read for that motion. Any other questions or anything else we'd like to address with this?
I have a question. So if we flew down there and then if we're staying at our hotel to get to the venue, is there a cost, are you guys putting a cost in there for us to use for the transportation? Because if we have to use like a Uber or whatever, we have to taxi, is there gonna be?
In my mind, that's all part of transportation.
Is that all part of?
If you fly. That, in my mind, as I'm sitting here, that's all
I'm
transportation.
just asking because it's like, I've never did this before and it's, okay, what about the cost of going from the hotel to the venue to the hotel?
and your board policy allows me to
And to the airport.
to do like taxis or car services that allows people to get to and from. So that already is that allows.
Included in
And I was looking at your goal is to get them there. You know, we're wanting the hotel as close to the venue as possible, but based on booking, we may have to provide a transportation to and from.
Okay. Are you're good now?
I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
All set? Okay, we're going to move on our agenda here. Our next item is a bond update. Mr. Walmsley?
Not much to report. There is progress being made on the athletic field, the drainage tiles and all that is what they're working on. We have been working on fixing some keys that didn't get scored, but still punchless items. We are still waiting on some supplies to be done, so there's not much to report at the bottom.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to our next item is public comments. Since the last meeting, I have received no emails from the public. At this time, is there any member of the public interested in addressing the board? If so, please step up, sign in, and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Is there any public comments? Okay, being no public comments, we will move on. Our next item is superintendent and legislative update. Mr. Walmsley?
I have no legislative update because they are just getting back from vacation. So, but I will report good luck to our juniors who will be taking the SAT tomorrow. And then we have PSA coming up at the high school level. So good luck to them. You've already heard it, but good luck to robotics this weekend at States. Looking forward to hearing some good things. The next one I'm going to point out is superintendent and dad. 2 of our alumni competed at the national level. Jordan Valentine, who was from Grand Valley State University. She and her teammates went to Daytona this weekend to compete in the National College Association. They took home a national title at the Grand Valley. I had a chance to actually see her perform and the team. Unbelievable. Just what they do now at the college level. I mean, our girls were good when they were here. They've really moved them up to them. So congratulations to Jordan at that competition. Now I put my dad hat on. Alumni Madeline Walmsley and her college from Elma also competed in Daytona at the NDA, where they took home 2 national titles for their 2 dance performances. So,
Okay, we now have board comments. I'll start down with Sherry. Do you have any?
I'm all set for tonight. Thank you.
Margaret? No. James?
Nothing to me.
Angela?
I'm all set, thank you.
Danielle? Good. Kyle?
I got nothing today.
Me neither. So we will move on to the next item on our agenda. Okay, we're at, I need a motion, or I'm looking for a motion for the approval of a letter of agreement between the Richmond Community School Board of Education and the Teamsters State, County, and Municipal Workers.
Move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the letter of agreement between Richmond Community Schools Board of Education and Teamster State, County, and Municipal Workers Local 214 Secretarial Unit as outlined in the attached documentation.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any discussion?
I would just point out that the contract didn't change anything other than specific for the position that would be, we talked about, is bringing the custodians back in-house. They did want a separate hourly rate tier for that position, and the contract already speaks to some of the 52-week. We had to clarify some language.
Okay, do I have all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm looking for an approval of the overnight trip to Houston for the national competition for robotics. Boy, who's going to put this one together? We need a motion.
What Brian said? Is that
Do
sufficient?
we have to give it a little more?
Do you want me to read it? I can read what
you wrote down?
What I wrote down.
And we'll get James, that'll be his.
And then we'll put it as the
If
official.
you want to hand it over here, I'll read it. But,
I don't have it written, so I'm going by my memory. So, motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the robotics team for 4130 overnight trip to Houston, Texas for amount up to $26,000 to cover hotel, either as a hotel or an Airbnb, food as defined by the board policy and guidelines for food reimbursement, and registration fee for robotics, and transportation with a preference of either air flying or a third-party bus with preference being flying.
Did you get all that?
Oh, yeah.
He's writing it down over
I'm
here.
trying here, okay. I would move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the robotics team 4130 overnight trip to request to Houston, Texas, in the amount of $26,000, up to $26,000, which would include hotel or Airbnb, food, registration fee, transportation, with the preference being for flying. Plan B would be a charter bus, and that would be the motion.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Got to do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct. I forgot because of the amount. So Danielle, did you second it?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to state before we vote, I do volunteer with the robotics team. I don't get any, I don't get any benefit from this vote or anything, so I'm still going to vote. Angela, are you?
No, I need to abstain from this vote because my son is on the robotics team.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Kyle?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me start again. James?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Danielle?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Margaret? Aye. Sherry?
Aye.
Deb? Aye. So we have, I know I have to, 6 ayes and 1 abstain.
You have to ask.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You have to say, are there any?
Ask, call her name out.
Call her name out.
Angela, are you abstaining? I'm sorry.
Abstain.
Thank you. I apologize. We don't have too many of them yet.
No, we haven't.
Okay, being there no further business, we are adjourning at 8:13.